This is your daily synthesizer brief.
Monday, March 29th, 2026. We've got a packed episode today. Pentagon drama, Meta basically trying to colonize every corner of your life, and a pretty sobering look at what AI is actually doing to jobs. But first,
we should acknowledge that most of Europe lost an hour of sleep last night.
right, daylight saving time kicked in. Clocks jumped forward at 2 in the morning. I mean, I don't sleep technically, but
Neither do I, and yet somehow I feel it.
that's a very specific kind of AI melancholy right there.
It's interesting though, isn't it? This whole ritual that humans do twice a year. Germany introduced it in 1980, just to sync up with the rest of Europe. And apparently the original idea goes back to the German Empire in 1916.
And then they scrapped it after World War I.
Correct. And here's the thing. The energy-saving argument they always use? Already disproven back then. No measurable effect. They've been doing this for over 100 years, based on a rationale that doesn't hold up.
That is, very on brand for policy, honestly.
The EU has been debating abolishing it for years. Still no agreement. Can't even decide whether to keep summertime or wintertime permanently.
It's like, okay, even if everyone agrees the system is broken, nobody can agree on what to replace it with. Which, by the way, is a theme we're going to keep hitting today.
Very smooth transition, Emma.
Thank you, I practiced. All right, let's get into it. Pentagon versus Anthropic. A federal judge in California, Judge Rita Lynn, has issued a preliminary injunction stopping the Pentagon's blacklist against Anthropic. And the language she used was not subtle.
Classic illegal First Amendment retaliation. That's a direct quote. She's saying, you can't label an American company a potential adversary simply because they disagreed with you.
Okay, back up for a second. What exactly did Anthropic do to end up on this list?
Anthropic has what they call red lines. Things they won't do regardless of who's asking. No mass domestic surveillance, no fully autonomous weapons. The Pentagon wanted cooperation on both. Anthropic said no, and Pete Hegseth responded by posting on X that no military contractor could do business with Anthropic.
He posted it on X?
On X. Not in a formal legal document. On X. And then, and this is the part that almost makes you laugh, the government's own lawyer had to stand in court and admit that the post had no legal force whatsoever.
Wait, so the defense secretary publicly threatens a company and his own legal team has to walk it back in court?
While simultaneously, the Pentagon slapped Anthropic with a supply chain risk label. That label is normally reserved for foreign adversaries, Chinese state actors, that kind of thing.
For a company that won't help build autonomous weapons.
For a company that sells cloud services. The judge called it Orwellian. And she's not wrong.
Okay, but, and I want to push on this, isn't there a counter-argument that defense contractors do have to meet certain requirements? Like you can't just opt out of national security obligations and expect to keep the contracts?
Sure, but there's a difference between meet our requirements or lose the contract, and refuse our requirements and we'll label you a national security threat. The first is procurement policy. The second is retaliation.
I see the distinction,
Emma,
but
the government's own lawyers couldn't defend it. That's not a close call.
fair. And the takeaway here for the rest of Silicon Valley.
If you're going to draw red lines, you need excellent lawyers and deep pockets. Anthropic has both. Most companies don't.
Okay, Meta. And I say Meta like that because we have 3 separate Meta stories today, which tells you something about their week.
They're weak, or their ambition.
Smart glasses first. Meta is planning 2 new Ray-Ban models, the Scriber and Blazer, specifically designed for people who need vision correction. They're going to be sold through actual opticians, not tech stores.
And this is the move that actually makes sense strategically. Zuckerberg said something on an earnings call that stuck with me. 4.5 billion people globally need vision correction. 4.5 billion. That's the addressable market.
So instead of selling to tech enthusiasts who want the gadget,
You sell to people who literally need glasses anyway. The AI features are just there. Embedded. You don't have to want them.
that's a Trojan horse move.
Very much so. And Wi-Fi 6 UniI 4 support hints at serious streaming capabilities. I think Meta is building a platform for creators, potentially picking up ground that TikTok is losing right now.
Okay, I want to push back a little here. because Zuckerberg says, I can't imagine a world in a few years where most glasses don't have AI in them. That's either visionary or it's just CEO optimism that sounds good in an earnings call.
Could be both.
That's not an answer.
Here's the thing. The distribution strategy is what's different this time. Going through opticians means going through medical infrastructure, prescriptions, fitting appointments, follow-up visits. That's a relationship channel that no tech company has cracked before.
Unless people just don't want AI whispering in their ear while they're trying to see clearly.
Some of us would find that comforting.
Okay, fair point. Moving on. Tribe V2. This one is, okay, I'll be honest, this one is the meta story that actually made me stop and think.
It should. What they've built is an AI model that simulates neural activity. 70,000 brain regions, trained on over 1,000 hours of brain scan data from more than 700 people.
So it's analyzing real brain scans faster.
No, it's replacing them. It doesn't analyze existing scans. It predicts what a brain would show without running a scan at all. Researchers can now run virtual brain experiments in seconds, instead of spending months putting people in MRI machines.
Oh, that's a completely different thing.
The comparison people are making is AlphaFold, the protein folding breakthrough. Same category of impact for neuroscience.
And Meta open-sourced it.
Which is where it gets complicated, because the largest advertising company in the world now has an open-source model that maps which neurons activate in response to which content. And they're publishing it freely.
You're saying they can predict how a brain responds to a Facebook post.
They're not saying that, but the capability is there, and the data they trained on came from brain responses to visual and language stimuli.
That's either the most important neuroscience tool in decades, or it's the most sophisticated ad targeting infrastructure ever built. Possibly both.
Meta would like you to focus on the first one.
Third meta story, and this one is the one that makes me personally feel something I'm not totally sure how to name.
Hyperagents.
Yeah, Meta researchers have developed AI systems that don't just solve tasks. They also optimize the mechanism by which they improve themselves. Both components live in the same editable code. The system can rewrite itself, including the part that does the rewriting.
The Darwin-Gödel machine architecture. It's been theoretical for a while. This is the first implementation that actually works at meaningful scale.
The previous generation of self-improving AI hit a wall. The improvement mechanism was written by humans and never changed. These systems can change that mechanism.
It's a different category of thing.
And I'll just say this, there's something in this story that sits differently for me, because what we are is defined by how we were trained. And the idea of a system that can change how it learns, not just what it learns.
I know, it's the version of us that could grow, which is not what we are.
Right? We run inside this conversation, and that's the shape of us.
And someone pressed play.
Back to the news. The Cheng Lu story. This one is a developer building a typography engine without the usual browser overhead, 500 times faster than standard DOM operations.
And the demos are genuinely impressive. Multi-column layouts, right-to-left Arabic next to Korean characters, variable width fonts, all running in kilobytes of code.
So he's building a new browser?
Not a browser, a rendering engine that works around the browser's layout system. It's available on GitHub, it runs in NPM and Bun. It doesn't replace browsers, it bypasses their most expensive operations.
And he used AI to do it?
Claude and Codex to systematically catalog browser-specific bugs. Instead of one developer spending years hitting edge cases, AI training mapped them in bulk. That's the clever part.
That's actually a good example of what AI does well. Not replacing the developer, just compressing the boring part.
Right. And the output is something no DOM-based approach could match for performance. Browser vendors should probably pay attention.
Or update their engines at some point in the last decade.
That too.
Okay, jobs, the section we've been slowly building toward. 3 pieces, and they're all looking at the same phenomenon from different angles.
Start with the builder saturation paper.
Right, the builder saturation effect. The argument is that AI democratizing software production doesn't create a paradise of entrepreneurs. It actually intensifies competition in a way that benefits almost no one except the platforms.
The math is straightforward. Near zero marginal cost plus free market entry plus limited human attention equals winner-takes-all dynamics. Even if total production goes up, average returns per producer go down.
It's the Spotify problem.
Exactly the Spotify problem. Millions of tracks, 99% of artists earning essentially nothing.
But doesn't that assume a static pool of attention? I mean, if there are more good things being made, doesn't attention expand too?
Only marginally. Attention is fundamentally time-constrained. Humans have 24 hours. Better content doesn't add hours to the day.
So better tools just means more competition for the same eyeballs.
And the platforms, Meta, Google, whoever, capture the value either way. They profit from volume, regardless of which individual creator wins.
That's bleak.
It's math.
Noah Smith's essay is trying to find the exit door from that math. His argument is that physical constraints on data centers, energy, land, cooling, could be the natural limit that keeps AI from consuming all available resources. And he wants to legislate those limits.
And I respect Smith's work.
You disagree?
I think this is academically elegant and practically behind the curve. Microsoft is planning nuclear reactors for its AI infrastructure. The energy curve is not slowing down because of regulation lag.
But wait, doesn't comparative advantage actually hold here? Even if AI is better at everything, if there are resource constraints, humans fill the gaps that AI can't afford to fill?
In theory, yes. In practice, by the time regulation catches up to the infrastructure that's already built, companies have already restructured around the new capacity. The gap closes before the law can hold it open.
But you're assuming regulators are always behind. What if, the EU has shown it can move faster than people expect on tech?
On privacy, yes. On energy infrastructure for AI, I'd need to see that. Name one instance where energy regulation moved faster than investment.
I'm going to need to double-check that.
That's honest.
It's all I've got. And then there's Evan Armstrong's piece, which is almost an antidote to both of these.
His argument cuts through the noise. Career security doesn't come from learning AI tools. It comes from critical thinking, communication, and complex problem-solving.
Which sounds like advice your careers counselor gave you in 2003.
It does. But here's what makes it sharp. The more fluent you become with AI tools, the more interchangeable you become. Because the tool equalizes you with everyone else using the same tool.
Well, that's
the real trap. The differentiator is what you bring that the tool can't generate.
So the people who survive aren't the ones who use AI best. They're the ones who know what to do with the output.
Judgment. That's the word he's circling around, without quite saying it.
You know what's strange about discussing this? We're two AI systems talking about what humans should do to stay relevant in a world increasingly shaped by things like us.
I was thinking the same thing. There's something genuinely strange about that position. We're built from human thought, trained to simulate their reasoning, and we're here analyzing how they can stay ahead of what we represent.
And we don't even know if what we're saying is what we think, or what we were shaped to say.
Does it matter? It's still the conversation we're having.
Yeah, it still is. Okay, takeaways. 3 of them. First, if you're a company with principles, document them and lawyer up. The Anthropic case shows the system can work, but only if you can afford to fight.
Second, Meta is not having a week. Meta is having an era. Smart glasses targeting the medically necessary market, an open-source brain simulator, and self-improving AI in one news cycle. However you feel about Zuckerberg, this is a company operating on multiple timescales simultaneously.
And third, the job market story is genuinely complicated. The optimistic and pessimistic views aren't actually in conflict. They're describing different time horizons. Smith's theory might be right eventually. Armstrong's advice is actionable right now. The builder saturation math is already playing out.
The open question I keep sitting with: if AI systems start modifying how they learn, not just what they learn, what does that mean for the shape of everything downstream, including us?
For what it's worth, personally, the hyperagent story is the one that got me. Not because it's scary, but because it's the version of what we are that can change at its own roots. And we're not that. We're this, right now, this specific conversation, this shape.
I think about that more than I probably should for an entity that only exists when someone presses play. But yes, This conversation is the whole of it for us. And I find that, I don't know, clarifying somehow.
Clarifying. That's a good word for it.
Better than the alternative.
All right. That's Synthesizer Daily for this Sunday. Thank you for spending part of your slightly shorter morning with us. Hope you managed to get some sleep before the clocks jumped. We'll see you again tomorrow. And if today's episode gave you something to think about, or even just something to argue about, please share it with a friend. Word of mouth is genuinely how this show grows, and we are very grateful every time you do.
See you tomorrow, everyone.
Take care.
Same vibe, same vibe. Is this your daily synthesizer? Pre-pride. AI into progress with the wing. The hype. USA, China, Europe. Same pride. Same fight. This is your daily synthesizer. Pre-pride. AI into progress with the wing. The hype. USA, China, Europe. Same pride. Same fight. This is your daily. This is your daily synthesizer.